Hey guys, if you're now building and collecting Adeptus Custodes or planning to, these are my top 3 units that I recommend to avoid at the moment because their rules aren't that great. They may become much better in the future, but at the moment, here we go. And a very short and important disclaimer before we start. I don't want you to be discouraged. If you really like wardens or any other units I mentioned in this video, go ahead and collect them, because Warhammer is about being fun and giving you enjoyment and not some rules and all that stuff. Obviously, if some units are now not great, there is a huge chance that they may be very good in the future. For example, with Custodian Wardens, one of my big problems with them is they then don't get OPSEC anymore because the rules were changed compared to what they were in the initial codex. But I have heard some rumors that they might receive in the new data slate their OPSEC back, which is very likely. So this concern that I have about them now will be completely alleviated. So if you really like wardens, go ahead and collect them. Don't listen to this and be free with what you want to have in your army. But if you want the results here and now, or perhaps you already have a huge collection of custodians and just trying to pick the combination you think is best, here we are. The Custodian Wardens are basically the equivalent of the Custodian Guard with 1 extra attack and 6 up feel no pain, which is not bad. And they also get access to the axes, the Custodian axes, which are strength 8, AP 2, damage 2, and don't have a sword shield combo. So, as already mentioned, they don't have OPSEC, which is a huge problem because even though they count as 2 models each, as most of the Custodians do, it will be extremely difficult for them to hold on to the objective because a simple guardsman will be able to outscore an entire 10-man squad of Wardens, which is as stupid as it can be. One thing I truly don't understand is why would they even try to get rid of OPSEC on Wardens, because that wasn't a problem back when the Adeptus Custodes Codex just came out and it was too OP. The problem was, like, bikes, Trajan of Allarus was too cheap, the characters, some characters were too strong, but the Wardens weren't really used at all. So why take away OPSEC from them, the squad that is bound to have OPSEC? I don't know, that was a mistake on GW part in my opinion. So nowadays, you are much better off just taking something else in the elite slot. For example, the Vixilla, the Dreadnoughts, not the Wardens, and spending the same points on a troops unit, because you will get OPSEC then. Yes, you will not get an extra attack, which is nice, and you will not get the feel no pain, which is nice, but not that important, because 6 up feel no pain is good, but not that great on such an expensive model. I would probably rather have a 1+ save from the shield on the Custodian with the shield than a 6 up feel no pain. They don't have any special strats to boost their output in melee or any defensive strats for that matter. And here is my solution that I have for them to make them interesting and not overpowered in my opinion. Firstly, give them OPSEC, that's just easy. That should be given to them in any case. Make Custodian access more expensive and damage 3. What do I mean by that? So we have Custodian access only on the characters, Allarus and the Wardens, which is already a perfect situation because it means that only our elite units will have access to that weapon. And this weapon should be much better than what the regular troops, significantly better than what the regular troops have access to, regular by the Custodes standards, which would mean that the Wardens and Allarus are actually very scary in combat, as they should be. You can make them really expensive, like 10 points an axe, which would mean that a full squad of, Wardens with axes would cost you 100 points more, which is significant. It's 600 points for a full squad of 10. And there are units in the game which would hit with the same amount of punch for much less than that. So I don't see anything being overpowered here. And we'll still keep the AP2, which is not that much, to be honest. But it would make the Custodian access viable again, in my opinion. That's the second thing I would propose. And the last one is I'd have 1 or 2 command point, 1 to 2 CP, stratagems for 5+ feel no pain. So if it's a unit of 1 to 4, it's 1, or if it's 5, 6 and more models, it's 2 CP for the 5-up shrug, which would make the shrugging part of wardens more viable, because for now 6-up shrug is just not good enough for them to be much more survivable. I must say that I do love the models themselves and the lore behind them. So I really want wardens to be back in the game, and well, hopefully they will at least get their OBSEC back, which is just crazy, as I already said 3 times in this video. But I think that they actually need at least something extra on top of that to make them more interesting, because for now they are just not quite there yet, in my opinion. Next are Allarus Custodians. I really love them as well. They are, I think, the best looking Terminator models in the entire Warhammer universe. They are just awesome. The lore behind them is awesome. They are wonderful, and there are some things that I don't like about them. So these cost 60 points a model. They're also in the elites slot, so it makes the elite slot quite heavily contested in the Custodes army, which I don't like, and that's one of the things I consider to be a drawback of Allarus. I'd rather have them in the heavy support slot. That would be much cooler, and they actually look very chunky. So the heavy support role, considering the fact that all Custodians are by definition elite, so putting them in the elite slot doesn't make, or the heavy support slot doesn't make any difference on their eliteness, if you catch my drift. They have the same amount of attacks as wardens, so 4 attacks, and they have 4 wounds but no feel no pain, so 2 attacks with damage 2 will kill them just as easily. And that's my first problem with Allarus. They are too easily killed. They are very expensive, but really not that hard to deal with. And the horrifying fact is that they actually did not get any more survivability compared to 8th edition Allarus. I was waiting for them to gain at least, I don't know, toughness 6 or 5 wounds, which would make sense considering the fact that back when the Terminators were 2 wounds each, Allarus were already 4 wounds. So when Terminator grew the wound, Allarus should have grown a wound, in my opinion. And another thing I don't like about them is that their punch in combat is just not there yet. They cost 2.1 possessed each, and the punch is just not there. I think they should have something, say the damage 3 cast on axis, for example, to make them stand out, so that if I deploy, say, 5 Allarus Terminators and charge them into, I don't know, a Dreadnought, the player who has that Dreadnought should be very scared, and the chance of them losing the Dreadnought should be extremely high, like, I don't know, 70, 80%, and not how it's now, where I would say it's very unlikely that the 5 Allarus are actually going to kill the Dreadnought. I've just done a quick math hammer for you, and 5 Allarus with spears actually do 5.56 damage to a Redemptor Dreadnought. It means that 5 Allarus will need 3 rounds of combat against a Redemptor to kill it. Not cool. Whereas if they had, say, damage 3 on their axis, the damage would be closer to 11, which is very close to them actually killing the Dreadnought, and with a couple of lucky shots from the ballistas, grenade launchers and all that, the Dreadnought can actually go down, which is how it should be against a full squad of the most elite Terminators in the entire 40k universe. Another problem I have with them is that their teleportation ability is just not a great buff to their mobility. They still have to come out from Deep Strike more than 9 inches away from the target, which means that they are likely not charging even with a reroll, which is very, very bad, especially for a unit that can cost upwards of, I don't know, 300 points. Custodians have the best teleportation technologies in, I don't know, the whole Imperium, and they should be able to come out from Deep Strike 8 inches away. Okay, if you don't want to give that to the entire Custodes army, Allarus have specialized suits. They should be able to come from deep strike within 8, which would at least make it doable. It's nowhere close to guaranteed. It's actually very hard to roll an 8, but it's still much better than a 9. Their shooting is actually controversially the best thing about them, because they can shoot both the regular spear or axe, which is strength 4 AP 1 damage 2, either 1 or 2 shots depending on the rapid fire, and the D3 shots from their strength 5 AP 3 damage 1 grenade launcher. And that's quite good, especially if you have like a full squad with rerolls 1 to hit, reroll 1 to wound from the Trajan. So it's good enough. It's how their shooting is supposed to feel like. Whereas their melee is just not great. And the only really great thing about them is they can be fielded in squads of 1, which is nice because you can pay only 60 points for a guy with an invulnerable save with 4 wounds who can teleport, I don't know, to the deployment zone of the enemy, charge, if you're lucky, a unit that's standing there, or at least provoke that unit to be doing something, maybe attacking the Allarus. If the Allarus survives, you can try to kill them and take that objective away. So there is some tactics there, and it's not expensive by the Custodes standards. So here is what I propose as a solution for a squad of Allarus Custodians. Give the OBSEC back to them. That's obvious. Again, I'm not going to repeat the whole tantrum about the OBSEC. Fix the axe, so give the axe damage 3 and make it more expensive if you need either 5 or 10 points, depending on how they calculate it, and let them, from Golden Light, they come within 8 inches instead of 9. That's for the abilities. And also I think they deserve either an extra wound, so a 5th wound, or if you don't want to give them 5 wounds, give them a 6 up, feel no pain. Or maybe, I don't know, ignoring AP 1 and AP 2 for stratagem like they had in 8th edition, or just AP 1. Something. They should have something, because for now they are a bit too easy to kill. You can probably be fine with just the first 3, because if you can actually use them as something that teleports in and that has a chance to roll that 8-inch charge, perhaps you don't need that much survivability. However, I find it stupid that Allarus are less survivable than some other Terminators in the game. It should not really be the case, but still. And here's Aleya, 75 points and HQ slot. I've already discussed why I don't like this character, and here is another version of this discussion. She has 1 more attack than the normal Knight Centurion, and her sword is strength 6 instead of strength 5. Plus she has fight first and fights on death. All these things are absolutely non-essential for a character like a Sister of Silence. They are meant to be a supporting character and nothing else. Well, if they can fight, that's good. 4 attacks with strength 5 AP 3 damage 2 from the regular Knight Centurion, which hit on 2s, luckily, are enough for like an extra bite if this character somehow ended up in combat and needs to defend herself. That's understandable. I like the fact that they can fight reasonably well, but I don't see any reason why you would want to expand on that. Paying extra 20 points and an HQ slot for something that the Custodes characters can do just better than the Aleya character, I don't understand why you would want to do that. Plus, her Warlord trait is the most useless out of 3 that are available for Sisters of Silence. It's +1 to advance and charge rolls for Sisters, which is, why the hell would you want to charge with your Sisters? I don't know. And no one knows, probably. I don't think GW knows why you would want to do that. And reroll 1 to wound for her. Well, that's just incredible. For her 5 attacks, that's very important for a Warlord trait, where you can give, I don't know, to a character, to a Custodes character, -1 to hit in combat and from shooting, or 5 up, feel no pain, or something of that sort. So yeah, I'm obviously joking here. aura of no obsec and -1 to combat attritions from the Silent Judge warlord trait is much more important, and that's what you have access to with a regular Knight Centurion, plus a wonderful defensive relic, Enhanced Void Sheen Cloak, which gives you a 4+ invulnerable save and -1 to hit and wound. So combining these two together, we see that we can make a very, very potent supporting character for just 55 points compared to the 75 of Aleya. So here's my solution for her. Lower the price to 65 points because no one wants her at 75. At least I don't think so. Change the warlord trait to Silent Judge. I don't know how it affects her lore, whatever. I have not read the books about her and Valerian yet, but if it can be done, you should do that because it at least gives an incentive to take her over the Knight Centurion regular one and give her something extra powerful for anti-psychic aura, or an ability to deny within 24 as a psyker, in addition to her -1 to cast and the 4+ deny within 18 inches they all sisters have. So that's it, guys. I hope this video was useful for you. I must repeat myself again. Don't treat this video as a guide not to buy some models if you actually like them. If you like Allarus, and I do love them myself, I have several being painted up now, and I really love wardens. The same goes for them. I want to have them in my Custodes collection, and I will. Aleya, I also have the model, but I'm planning to use her as a Knight Centurion because I'm not a big fan of her model in general. If you like the models, collect them, have them in the army, because believe me, rules are changing all the time, and in 6 months I may be releasing the same video but with other models, and the Allarus and the wardens will be the best models in the Custodians book. Who knows? I don't know. So if you like something, collect that, and I'll see you next time.